The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers or Rogers TV.
Welcome to another edition of the Local Campaign. For the next hour, your opportunity to question candidates from Toronto Danforth. Here's a quick view of the riding itself. Toronto Danforth runs from the East Don River in the north to the main Don River in the west to Coxwell in the east and Lake Ontario in the south. And now meet the candidates in alphabetical order. Marie Crawford from the Animal Alliance Environmental Voters Party, Andrew Lang, Liberal Party candidate, Adriana Muñato-Hamu from the Green Party. I should say that Jack Layton, the NDP candidate, has declined to be with us tonight. So has Katarina von Koenig, who is the Conservative candidate. For the candidates who are in the studio and you have a question, give us a call, 416-446-7090, or you can send your email questions to torontovotes@rogerstv.com. Our question, what's your question for the candidates of Toronto Danforth? Please observe this rule. Don't call if you volunteer or work for any candidate in this election campaign. Let's give ordinary voters a chance to ask the questions for the next hour. Okay, each candidate gets a minute or less to tell us a bit about themselves. Marie Crawford, you go ahead.
Hi, thank you. My name is Marie Crawford. I'm with the Animal Alliance Environment Voters Party of Canada. Our party supports ethical government and government that upholds highest standards of morals and ethics. And we believe that that translates into positive change for all areas of government. And we'd like to have, would appreciate being part of this today.
All right, thank you very much. Andrew Lang, go ahead, please.
I chose to run originally because of three things, and these are the three things that my NDP opponent did. They are the Kelowna Accord for Native Canadians, the Kyoto Accord, and a national childcare strategy. All three of these things were being passed through government. One of them was already as part of our legislation. And Jack Layton intentionally allowed them to die on the order paper when he defeated the Martin government in 2005. He sacrificed his own principles for political gain. And I couldn't have that. And then most recently, this past summer, he almost let the gun registry die as well when he thought he could gain rural seats by doing so. He realized he was wrong, and he rallied his troops and got them to support it. And then just this week, in order to gain seats in Quebec, he has aligned himself with separatists in supporting Bill 101, a very hated document, something that had been found unconstitutional by the Superior Court of Quebec and the Supreme Court of Canada.
Thank you. Time's up. And the next candidate, Adriana Muñato-Hamu. Did I do a reasonable job on that?
Yes, you did.
All right, okay. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name's Adriana Muñato-Hamu, and I'm running in my home riding of Toronto Danforth because I want a government that considers future generations. From the time I arrived in Canada at the age of 4, I've built my life here and I've really enjoyed what Canada has to offer. And I never thought that I'd run in government, in spite of the fact that I was always interested in policy and I always voted. But what drew me in was realization that our economic focus on maximizing productivity now gives us an abundance of goods only by threatening the fundamentals of life for our children: the availability of reliable energy, safe food, clean water, and the stable environment on which every economy depends. Instead of partisan bickering, we desperately need a parliament that recognizes the challenges that we face and works together to deliver a future where our children can enjoy the security and the freedoms that we take for granted today.
All right, thank you all very much for your opening thoughts. Marie Crawford, when you knock on doors seeking votes, what are people telling you?
Our riding is very progressive, and their main concerns are about environment on a grander scale. They're concerned about having good quality food for their children in daycare and in schools in particular. They're more concerned about prevention for health as opposed to a large healthcare format. And just taking responsibility. Our neighborhood was chosen for the City of Toronto to do a pilot project on solar panels to be put onto houses, and very much in support of that. So this neighborhood is very much about seeing a government that they can trust, that they can look up to protect their family for future generations, not just for now. And a lot of the issues that are being talked about, the big issues about just economy and just healthcare, is not what our neighborhood is looking for. They're looking for somebody who is going to lead this great country forward, to be a good example.
Pretty big neighborhood, isn't it?
Very large, yeah.
Okay, all right. Adriana Munyatu-Hamu, what are you hearing when you knock on doors?
There's a lot of seniors in the north end of our riding who are having trouble making ends meet. There's a lot of youth that are worried about employment. There's a substantial amount of unemployment. We have immigrant issues. There's a very large immigrant population. And I would say health. There's a lot of, the south end of our riding has a very deep industrial heritage, and there's a lot of health concerns in that part of the riding, and air quality as well.
All right, okay. Andrew Lang, when you knock on doors, what do they tell you?
Well, I'm hearing the desperate need for enhanced childcare, and not just a few pennies to help them pay for it, but actual spaces. We have to get in the game of really creating spaces and working with the province to create those spaces and make it affordable. I'm talking to the new Canadians that live in our riding, and it's a vastly diverse riding. From the Chinese population, our Chinese population is immense in Toronto Danforth. And they're very concerned about having the money to send their children to post-secondary education. And as was mentioned, a lot of seniors live in our riding. A lot of seniors are slipping into the poverty, close to a poverty line, and some already in. And we need to do something to make sure that we get them out of that, and that they're supported, and that the families that have to take care of them are supported. But above all else, what I'm hearing at the door is fear of a Harper majority. And just people are just saying, what are we going to do if this guy gets a majority? Because look what he's done with the minority.
Are either of you hearing that fear?
Well, sure.
Yeah?
Well, we are for sure. And actually, the fact that there has been such a new election being called, a lot of people actually are feeling that they're scrambling to actually learn enough about the parties, and they're actually confused on a large front about who to vote for to prevent the Conservatives from getting in again.
Strategic voting, as it were?
At the end of the day, I think you have to vote for who you trust.
I do hear that as well.
You do hear it as well?
There is a lot of fear about of a Harper majority. There's some Conservative voters, small amount, very small amount, who actually want a Harper majority. But most people are very concerned about a Harper majority. And I do want to echo that Andrew's absolutely right. The concerns about childcare are strong in our riding. Yeah, that's something that I have.
I should remind everybody that Katarina von Koenig, who is the Conservative candidate, declined to be with us tonight, and so did Jack Layton, the NDP candidate. People are watching and thinking to themselves, okay, now who am I going to vote for, understanding and appreciating which party I might closely align myself with. And it's always a juggling act, isn't it, between the party and the actual person who will represent any given riding on Parliament Hill. So let me just ask you a plain and simple question about that. What makes you the best candidate in this riding?
Myself,
yes,
I've been a neighborhood resident for over 17 years. I had a juice bar and healthy eatery for 12 years in there, and I feel very connected to the part of the riding that feels very strongly about having access to good quality foods and positive change for the environment. And the reason why this is really important, I'd love to represent this riding, is not only have that connection, but we're talking about a federal election. And we have to get away from talking about all of these larger issues, which are taking our focus very, very far away from understanding that we need to act now with the environment. And our party's focus on animals in particular just says that if we have candidates running that are ethical enough to care about other animals other than ourselves, then we are going to care about us. And it's all spreads out from there, and all positive change comes from that, and that's not those aren't part of our platforms.
Andrew Lang, why should voters vote for you? What makes you the best candidate for this riding?
Well, one of the things all three of us share is that we're all residents of the riding, and we are active in our riding, and we care about our riding, and we care about our streets and our neighbors and what goes on there.
Yeah, but we can't vote for all three of you, so what makes you the best?
I'm just showing you that. But one thing I will bring to the table is experience. I had experience of running Bill Graham's constituency office for a couple of years, and saw firsthand just how effective a good constituency office can be, how responsive it should be. And we've been lacking that for 6 years. And what I will do and what I will bring to the table are regularly scheduled town hall meetings so that my neighbors can come and talk to me, and I can make sure that I'm aware of what is on their mind and what issues are concerning them, and that I can also bring a little piece of Ottawa back to them and say, this is what's going on in Ottawa. And I would spend most of the days of the week actually in my riding, and that's another big difference. So that's really, I'm always going to be there, I'm always going to be responsive, and they know they're going to have a voice through me.
Adriana Munyatu-Hamu, what makes you the best candidate?
I do live in the riding. I have been active on a number of local issues, fighting the Portland's Energy Centre, fighting the big box store on Eastern. I've also just been really active now door knocking. So for the last 2 years, I've actually gone through the riding almost twice, knocked on every door. And I do want to have that kind of commitment. You stole my idea about town hall meetings, by the way. Yeah, but I mean other ways of reaching out. So yeah, I will be involved always with the community. I also think that it's a very fundamentally green community. When I talk to people, easily 80% have a lot of sympathy for the Green Party. And the only reason why so many of them aren't voting Green is because they feel like, do you have a chance? So a lot of the issues here are showing that we do have a chance, that we can win this riding. We can be the first Green riding in Canada.
Now, let me stay with this tack about going door to door. Is it an issue among the voters that you talk to about the entire contempt of Parliament set of issues that in effect brought down the government? Do people want to talk to you about that, Marie?
Well, about what's happened, sure. I mean, you know, I found it fascinating that there was a referendum to actually have proportional representation that was only met at 50%, and that shocked me, because when I ran before, that was the #1 thing that people wanted. They wanted to get away from the first past the post to actually a better way to elect government. So they're still concerned about that. They like the fact that they were able to have another election, that they were so unhappy with the government that was elected that they're allowed to do this, but the amount of time that they have to actually choose and know who now they're going to trust is a bit confusing to them.
Contempt of Parliament, is that something, I guess as the Liberal candidate, you would bring it up, but do voters bring it up to you as well?
It is actually more rare than it should be, and it's troubling.
Is it? Yeah.
I believe that because there were so many disastrous things piled on top of each other in such a short period of time, that it's almost become white noise, that the voter has just kind of been inured to all of this. And it's unfortunate that the residents in Canada are allowing this to go on without questioning it, because the Conservatives don't seem to care, and they just do one thing after the other and pile contempt upon contempt. So it's there, but not nearly the way I would have hoped it would be.
Adriana, are you finding the same thing?
Same thing. Some people are very upset about it, very upset, but they're a small proportion of the voters.
Yeah. The economy itself and all the economic issues that are being debated back and forth, in the middle of all those various debates is the whole theory about cutting income taxes for corporations and whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing or a non-event thing. Marie Smith, what's your opinion on that?
Well, our party really would, if we were to actually be elected and our party were to be a large voice for Canada, realistically, a lot of the issues that we're talking about now wouldn't be into play anymore. So we don't look at the issues that are staring us down right now. We would actually be looking at a quantum shift in the way that
well, beyond the quantum shifts, do you have any particular opinion on cutting corporate income taxes in Canada?
Particularly at this moment, every corporation some of them have grown out of great ideals and beliefs. We're not at the point with this party to actually say that we're just going to make a call on that, because in fact a whole new shift of a new corporation that would be investing completely in solar panels or in wind power or that kind of thing. Those are the new things that would have to change. This would be a huge shift for Canadians to actually vote in a party like ourselves, because they would now be looking at everything with a totally new light. So
people would have a tough time figuring how you feel, though, about cutting income taxes to corporations, wouldn't they? Don't they need to know how you feel about that?
Yes, but I'd rather that they hear the point about what kind of industries that we need to see to start affecting positive change now.
All right. Andrew Lang, corporate income tax cuts.
Well,
give us your thoughts on that, please. It has been the subject of a lot of debate, as you know.
there's a time and a place for everything. And when times are good and when you can afford to do it, corporate tax cuts make sense. We want to stay competitive.